Hi, this is Krista at the Secret Yarnery. Today we are making the Dirty Granny baby blanket. You will love working on this blanket so much. It is a super easy one-row repeat. Just using basic crochet stitches, it works up really, really quick. For my pattern, I did 4 rows of a color and then 1 row of white and just alternated all the way up. The finished size of my blanket is 38 inches wide and 48 inches tall. That's 96 centimeters wide and 122 centimeters tall. I will link these colors of yarn in the description box down below if you want to make the exact same colors. If you want to follow along with our written pattern, it's available over on my website, secretyarnery.com. And all my patterns are written in plain English, so you don't have to be able to read a pattern to follow along with mine. It is just telling you what to do in plain English. To make the Dirty Granny baby blanket, you will need yarn. I used 600 grams of 3 colors, so 200 grams of each color, and less than 100 grams of the white. You will also need a 8mm hook for your chain, a 7mm hook for your blanket. If you don't have these larger hooks, you could use a 6mm hook and just chain really loosely. You will also need 13 stitch markers, a darning needle for sewing in your ends, and a pair of scissors. So let's get started. So grab your larger hook and your stitch markers. If you don't have a larger hook, you can use the same hook, but just chain very loosely. Grab your yarn, and we're going to chain multiples of 8. To make the same size blanket that I am, you will chain 104, or you can chain any multiple of 8 and just make your chain as wide as you want your blanket to be. So go ahead and make a slip knot any which way you normally do. Shrink that down and put it onto your larger hook. So we're going to chain sets of 8. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. And then roll those pretty little stitches, those cute little V's. Just rest your thumb on them softly and turn that chain to its side. And you'll see these camel bumps at the back, our back loops. So we are looking for the back loop right underneath our working yarn, right here. And we're going to pop our stitch marker in. Just like that, and chain 8 more. 1, 2, 3, 7, and 8. And again, roll that chain to the side and look for that back loop right underneath your working yarn and pop in another stitch marker. And now keep chaining 8 and popping in a stitch marker until you have used up all your stitch markers or chained 104 or whatever multiple of 8 you want your blanket to be. For this tutorial, I'm just going to be making a small sample. So now take out your big hook if you're using one and put in your regular hook. And we want to chain 1. So now roll that chain back onto its side. And we want to look for the 6th chain. So the first one is right underneath our working yarn. And then our stitch marker is number 2, number 3, number 4, number 5, way down there. And here is number 6. So we want to look for the 6th chain from your hook, and we want to work into the back loops if you can. It only makes our blanket look tidy when we're finished, but if it's difficult, you could also just work into the front of your chains. So count to the 6th chain, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Roll that stitch over to work into that back loop. Slide that back loop onto your hook and make 2 double crochets. There is 1 and 2, chain 2, 1 and 2, wrap your yarn again and 2 more double crochets into that very same chain, the very same stitch. There's 1 and here is 2. Now we're going to skip 3 chains. So roll that chain onto its side and look for these camel bumps. There is 1, 2, and 3. Number 4 is where our stitch marker is. right there. So the stitch markers are handy just to kind of keep track of our chain and make sure we have the right stitch count when we're starting out. So into that next chain with the stitch marker, we're going to do 5 double crochets all into the same back loop or the same stitch. So there is 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Just like that, all into the same chain, the same stitch. So wrap your yarn again, skip 3 stitches, or skip 3 chains, 1, 2, and 3. We want to go into the 4th chain right here, just into that back loop. Wrap your yarn and into the 4th chain, we're going to make 2 double crochets, 1 and 2, chain 2, 1 and 2, wrap your yarn again and 2 more double crochets into the same chain, the same stitch. There's 1 and 2. Wrap your yarn, skip 3 chains, and it should line up right into that same stitch with our stitch marker. So into the 4th stitch, the 4th chain where your stitch marker is, 5 double crochets. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So now pause the video and keep working along your chain, either doing a glass, which is 2 double crochets, chain 2, and 2 double crochets. It has that space in the middle. Or an olive, which is just 5 double crochets. So skip 3 and either do a glass or an olive all the way along until you reach the end of your chain. At the end of your row, you'll have 3 chains left, 3 little camel bumps or back loops to work into. We want to skip 2, and we just want to work into the very last one, right on top of our chain. We want to make 1 double crochet into the last chain. That's going to be our nice straight edge. So 1 double crochet to finish the row. So that finishes row 1. To start row 2, or the repeat, chain 3, 1, 2, and 3, and turn your work. To turn your work, we want to slide your hand underneath your working yarn, grab your work, and just turn it. And that will have our chain nice and lined up for us when we get there. Now we're always going to be starting into a glass, and glasses get glasses, and olives get olives. So into the very first glass, we're going to do a glass. So 2 double crochets, 1 and 2, all into that space, chain 2, and 2 more double crochets into that same space, 1 and 2. Then next we have an olive. So the olives, we want to work into the 3rd stitch, or the top of that hill, this one right here. So there is 1, 2, we want to go into the 3rd stitch, getting 2 strands of that stitch on the top of our hook. And we want to do another olive. So into that 3rd stitch, we're going to make 5 double crochets. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Now into the center of the glass, we're going to do a glass. Glasses are 2 double crochets, chain 2, and 2 double crochets, all into that center space. So there's my 2 double crochets. There is my chain 2, and now 2 more double crochets into that same space. 1 and 2. Now into the olive, we want to look for the top of that hill, or the 3rd double crochet right here. And we want to go in, making sure we get both strands of that V on the top of our hook. So into the third double crochet of the olive, we're going to do 5 double crochets. So olives get olives and glasses get glasses all the way along. So there is 3 double crochets. Here is 4 and 5. And now you can pause the video and keep working along, putting a glass into a glass and an olive into an olive all the way along your row. Now the end of your row will look like this. We have our 2 double crochets and then our chain starts. We want to look for the top of that chain. So there's 1 double crochet and our second double crochet. We want to go right into this chain and we want to get 2 strands on the top of our hook. So wrap your yarn and 1 double crochet into the top of that chain. So we're always going to end our rows with 1 double crochet into the chain. So to start row 3, chain 3, 1, 2, and 3. Slide your hand under to turn your work. And now start into your very first glass right here and make a glass. So into the first glass, 2 double crochets, 1 and 2, chain 2, 1 and 2, and 2 more double crochets into that same space, 1 and 2. Into the olives, find that center stitch, top of the hill, wrap your yarn, and into that center stitch, that third double crochet of the olive, 5 double crochets. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So now you can pause the video and keep working along, glasses into glasses, olives into olives, all the way along, and I'll meet you when we get to the end of the row. At the end of your row, we have that chain. We always want to end with a double crochet into the top of our chain 3. So right there is the top of our chain 3. We want to make sure we have 2 strands of that chain on the top of our hook. So wrap your yarn and into the top of that chain 3, 1 double crochet to finish the row. So now keep going, repeating that row over and over until your blanket is the height you want it to be, or until you want to change yarn colors. If you want to change colors, get to the end of the row and start your last double crochet, that double crochet into the chain. But don't finish it, so just wrap and take off 2. Leave those last 2 loops on your hook. Now you can go ahead and cut your yarn, leaving a long enough tail to sew in with a needle later. Grab the next color you want to use and put a loop onto your hook. You probably want it to be about 5 or 6 inches. So you have enough yarn to sew in later. And just finish off that stitch with your new yarn. Drop your tail and hold them along the back of your work. Snug that back down so it looks like a normal stitch, and do your chain 3 for your next row. 1, 2, 3. Turn your work. So now you can let go of those tails and just start your row. So now you can sew in those tails, just matching the color, and that's it. So keep going until your blanket is the height you want it to be. When your blanket is the height you want it to be, finish the last 4 rows of that color, and at the end of the row, chain 1. Turn your work, and into this very first stitch, right here, right beside that chain, we're going to do 1 single crochet. So 1 single crochet, chain 2, 1 and 2, into that very first space, that first glass, 1 single crochet, chain 3, 1, 2, 3. We want to chain loosely for here to kind of match our starting chain. Into the third stitch of our olive, or the center stitch, 1 single crochet, chain 3, 1, 2, 3. Into the glass, 1 single crochet, chain 3, 1, 2, 3, nice and loose. Into the center of your olive, 1 single crochet, chain 3, 1, 2, 3, nice loose chains, and into the center of your glass, 1 single crochet. So you can pause the video and keep working along, doing a chain 3 and 1 single crochet, either into the center of the glass or the top of the olive, all the way along until you reach the end of your row. When you get to the end of your row, chain 2, 1, and 2, and we want to make a single crochet into the top of that chain 3. 1 single crochet. Chain 1. Cut your yarn, leaving a long enough tail to sew in with a needle later. Pull your hook up and your yarn through and snug that down to secure. Sew in your tails and you're finished. So I hope you enjoyed this tutorial as much as I did. I love this blanket so much. It's adorable. Love to see yours. You can find me over on social media. All my links are in the description box down below. Love to see yours. If you have any questions, leave it in the comments under this video. And thanks so much for hooking along. If you haven't subscribed or joined this channel, go ahead and do that now, just underneath this video. And thanks so much for hooking along. We'll see you in the next video, and stay hooked.